challenges, hardship, joy, pain, happiness, all of it. We wanted the whole thing.
God's given us a blessing through London.
Hi, welcome to the Gather Design podcast, where we find hope in the redemption stories of everyday people. Please remember to subscribe for updates and to like this episode. I am your host for today. My name is Marianne Jensen, and my guests today are Ryan and Natalie Gifford. They are parents of 4 children, and they actually have a 5th way in about a month. One of their beautiful daughters was actually born with Rett syndrome, and that is not a well-known condition. So we are going to jump right in, and maybe we can start by having you guys describe, what is Rett syndrome and how has that affected your life and your family? Welcome, by the way.
So Rett syndrome basically is a genetic mutation, and it's not usually something you can tell at birth. It usually sets in a little bit later, meaning 6 to 18 months of age. For our daughter, she was between 18 months and 2 years old when she started having rapid regression, or she started losing the skills she had gained up until that point. And so we didn't know she had anything until later. But it basically affects every aspect of their life. So leaves them severely handicapped with the major things are loss of speech, loss of hand use. But yeah, lots more things that affects every aspect of their life.
And she mentioned this, but it's one of those things you don't know beforehand. So when she was born, to us, she was just a normal, neurotypical, beautiful little girl and progressed normally. I'd play with her toys and say mom and dad. And then at that 18 to 24 month mark, started kind of losing some of those abilities during that regression time frame. So definitely not something you expect going into life.
Well, and I will say, and I should have mentioned this before, is we have been good friends now for a few years. And actually, was it 5? I guess because you were pregnant when you moved here. Yes. So we've been just dear friends for that amount of time. And so we were in the thick of this together as you were, finding all this out about London. And so I did get to experience those really heavy feelings with you. So I know
She
what
was
you
there.
mean. She seemed totally
Yep.
normal when you guys first moved here, and just and then to watch things start happening, what's going on?
I think you may have even been there the day we found out, coming back from the doctor. We have another mutual friend who was watching our kids, and you were there. So yeah, you've seen it all for sure.
Marianne, you're the one who brought us dinner that night, and I still cry about that. It was inspired that you said, I need to bring you dinner tonight, and that was so sweet because that was the last thing on our minds. But
that's great. I don't remember that, so yay me. I remember.
Yes, thank you. It was good.
Yeah. Okay, so now maybe if somebody were to ask you, what is the one biggest lesson that you've learned having a child with a disability, and how you coped? What would you tell them?
I think the greatest lesson I've learned so far. So we have now been she's 6 years old. We've now been in this world for 4 years, a little over 4 years, and I would say the biggest thing I've learned is that this is the mortal experience we really wanted. Is challenges, hardship, joy, pain, happiness, all of it. We wanted the whole thing. And I feel really fortunate that we get a reminder. I get a reminder as the mom every single day that someone has it a lot harder than I do. I feel like that has saved me when there's some mentally really hard days. I tell Ryan at night sometimes when it's been a really challenging mentally challenging day, I'll say, our kids save me, but particularly London, it's really, really good for me to remember constantly that someone has it a lot harder than I do. And she wanted to be here too. And it's really cool that she did. So I don't know if that answered that right, but.
No, that's great.
I think yeah. And for me, I mean, so I definitely agree with what Natalie just said. Um, for me, and I don't do a good job at this, is to not make a big deal out of the small
You
things.
you
And
you
I
do
just
do a good
think,
job at that.
do
Yes.
I? Well, thank you. Yeah, just little, things that don't matter as much, right? Because again, just seeing London smile is a big deal to us every single day, right? If I can get that out of her, if I can get her to laugh in some way or tickle her and get a reaction, those are such big things where with our other kids, it just comes naturally, right? So learning to balance out like what matters, what doesn't matter, um, and then taking advantage of like those little things uh, that are a big deal, right? Like just spending a little bit of time and laughing together, or sitting. Today I was on the couch cuddling her, right? And that's like such a big deal for me to do that with her. So again, I don't know if
Yeah.
hopefully that answered in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is great. Now, I remember when she was, well, which is kind of first getting diagnosed and maybe after. I remember you telling me that she just kind of felt a little more special, and not, and I don't want to say that she's more special than your other kids, but just a different type of special. Even as a baby, you felt the need to treat her differently, even though at that time she was no different than your other kids. Can you tell us a little bit about that, maybe?
Yeah, we both felt that, right? I remember that we were
Mm-hmm.
extra protective, and people thought we were first time parents. And I hate to say it like that because we were protective of our first daughter too, but I think we just came into parenthood more like we have big families who've taught us well, and we kind of felt like this is part of it. It's fine. They're going to be fine. And with London, we like didn't want her to have any extra hard ever. So we just did extra things we wouldn't have done with any of our others, and we still haven't done with the others. Like we got her wipe warmers, and we did different things because we were like, don't let her be uncomfortable. We like put a bubble around her. I don't know why, except that her spirit just felt different. And obviously hindsight, right? We just thought we had like a perfect, I don't know how to say that right, but Ryan.
Oh, she was awesome. Like she did, I feel like she made no mistakes, right? Like I just, the word that comes to my mind is tender. Like she was just like a tender little girl. And it was like, you don't want to push her too hard. You don't want to, I don't know, just tender, just somebody you want to grab and just give a hug to. And with every step along the way, I felt like we were a little more sensitive and tender for sure.
She does have a really special feeling about her when you're with her. So I know it's really hard to describe that, but thanks for giving it a shot anyway. Um, what
And
about
I think it's a
pre?
personality thing too.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's physical, but also personality, right, babe? Like
Mm-hmm.
I think she's very forgiving and very
Patient.
patient with us. Yeah.
And on that note, now that we know, right now that we know she has a physical condition and she really is really pure, all of us are not quite at that same level, right? Like I'm learning things that she's probably figured out, but her patience is unmatched, right? But what we think about it is that wasn't the lesson she came to learn, the same as us. So we tell the other kids that too. Like we have to learn some other lessons. Her lessons are physical. She wanted a body, and I don't understand every part of it, but I just know that that's not part of her journey. That we have the same stuff that we have. She's just not,
Yeah.
she didn't need to
And
do that.
to put that into perspective for everyone listening too, because I know she's not here and they can't see everything, but she can't get herself up from a couch. She can't sit down on a couch by herself. She can't use her hands. If she falls, because she does walk, there are some Rett girls or people with Rett syndrome that do walk. If she falls, she can't protect herself. So when she goes to fall, she can't put her hands out. So she'll just face first into the ground. Yeah. So if any like physical hardship like comes along, she can't protect herself at all. I think of, her little brother. He'll come up and try to play with her, and he might hit her. And she knows it's coming, and he's not trying to be malicious, but she knows it's coming and she can't stop it. So
Well,
I
you
can't
should
remember.
say, because he's 2 years old, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's two
Yes,
years
and
old.
he's two. Yes, yeah. So he's
So
experimenting.
he doesn't
I should
understand.
preface it with
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
And that's
But
and
just
that's just that's just kind of the outward physical side of it, what you see. But she's got a lot of internal pain and struggles that makes life hard on her, too.
yeah,
Yeah.
but just that
Yeah, her
patience, right?
digestive process and her
Yeah.
digestive
Yeah.
problems it comes with a lot of that.
Yeah. Neurological issues, all of her different things that make life extra hard. And she's very patient.
Yeah, she's awesome. I would, yeah. I know it's a joke, right? Like guys complain about every little ache and pain, but I would be in bed like crying every day from a lot of the pains that she feels. So, but she's awesome.
And to me, that sounds like having a lot of patience, right? Like you've
Yeah.
had a chance to develop a lot of patience with recognizing and having a good perspective that she struggles and she just needs a lot of love and support, and that's huge. What about with the kids? What do you feel like? I mean, maybe we should explain your family a little bit. Do you want to just tell us kind of the ages of your kids and where London falls in the lineup? That will, I think, help a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Aaliyah is our oldest and she's turning 10 in a month. And then we have London. She's our second and she just turned 6 a few months ago. Next comes Chanel, who's right after London. So she's 4.5. And then we had a little boy, Beckham, who's just turned 2. And then we're pregnant with our 5th and it's a boy as well. And we're due next month. So yeah, London's our second out of these 5 kiddos.
I mean, Lynn kind of falls in the middle of the pack there. She's the second, so she's not the oldest, but she's not the youngest. And seeing her oldest sister really step up um, is amazing to see. Um, the responsibility that she has to take care of somebody and to help her with almost everything. She'll jump in and help us feed her and protect her and watch her in different ways that a typical 10-year-old
Oh,
wouldn't have to do. But
oh
then
yeah.
also,
Oh, I
go
was
ahead.
just going to share a
Go ahead,
quick
babe.
experience I remember when London's always had severe vomiting problems and it's just part of her syndrome. But I remember Aaliyah being really young. They're almost 4 years apart, but I remember Aaliyah being like 5 or 6 and little London, she's feeding her a snack and little London vomits all over Aaliyah. And I remember Aaliyah didn't even blink. Like that shocked me that she's so young and she was like, that's okay. And she just like kept, she never made her feel bad. And that's kind of what a gift to watch that. Like you couldn't pay for the sweet relationships and the qualities that our kids are developing because of what London has brought to our life. But sorry, I interrupted you, Ray.
No, you're fine. I think stories are great to add. I mean, and then on the flip side, right? She has these younger siblings who get an opportunity to take care of her too. And to add a
Mm-hmm.
story to the mix, I think of like Beckham, and maybe not a particular story, but an example. Beckham, who's our 2-year-old. I mean, he can be really rough sometimes, and he'll run around and he'll roughhouse with the other kids, and then as he's running around, he'll come across London, and he knows, like, do not touch her, because at any moment, if he touches her too hard, she'll fall over and she can hit her head. And so, at 2 years old, he's very aware and sensitive
He
to making
he
sure
gives
she's
her
taken
lots of
care of.
kisses. He really, really is a ultra
Mm.
aware little boy, and all of them are. But it's really sweet to see this baby being raised already with how bad she is. And he will just like, if she's struggling, he goes and checks on her a lot, has to kiss her forehead a lot and talk to her, and it's just so sweet that's just how they came ready to take care of her.
That is really great. I've enjoyed watching your kids as you've added to each of your, added each child to your family and seeing how they've reacted to her and changed. And I just feel like that is a gift to give the kids. But I've also seen people rally around you, like the people around you rally. And I would love to hear a little bit about maybe the Toby, right? Getting her tablet and maybe explaining how you're able to kind of see that miracle in the tablet. Maybe you can explain what that is.
Yeah, so she mentioned something called the Toby tablet, and in essence, what it is. So with Rett syndrome, mentally, these children are all there. So they have normal thoughts for their age, but the disconnect is getting their body to relay that information. So she has thoughts, she just can't get them to us because she can't verbally speak. But there's a tablet that's been created with an eye tracking device on it. And there are different pictures and different sayings that if she looks at them long enough on this tablet, the tablet will say it for her. And a lot of rec girls, have these tablets, and they take them to school, and they learn through them, and they communicate through them. So we really wanted to get one for London. At the time, the situation that we had in our life, we couldn't afford one. It was really, really expensive. But there were some people in our church who knew about this and had heard about it, and they put a GoFundMe together. And I mean, really just did an amazing job getting it out to the public. We had people we'd never even heard of or don't know us in any way through a connection of a connection of a connection who were donating to help us get this tablet. And
I think it was in 3 to 4 days. It was under 4 days.
Yeah.
That the money was raised, and it was such a humbling experience. Very, very sweet. And the day that we reached that goal and we could get it, London was super happy, and it was kind of an interesting experience because she knew, and I remember taking a picture of her smiling really big, and that's not always easy to get that. But I remember just knowing in my heart that she was very aware of what the waves that were caused from this, and how sweet it was. The ripple effect is a better way to say that. The ripple effect of people that came together to help this one, our child that we love. It was humbling and very sweet.
One thing I love too, through this whole experience, I can't say I'm grateful for how other people have been affected, but we have had so many people come to us and say, like, London has blessed our life in so many ways by being able to serve her or to pray for her or doing something for her in some way. And it's amazing to hear how people have been affected by her because of the amazing spirit that she carries with her. I mean, again, through either donating money or helping babysit the other kids while we're at doctor's appointments. We just are so grateful for how people have reacted to that, and grateful that they can get a little piece of her and her awesome spirit.
And me, who's been one of those people who've been able to experience being near London, it is a special experience. There's just something there that, and she can communicate so well with just her look, like looking at you. And I feel like that's been a really great gift. Just if she'll just stare at you, and you can just feel that love that comes from her, which is truly a gift. So that it's really special.
It's like a different form of communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're so good at verbally speaking, but we always talk about there's different ways to speak, and she's got something about her through her eye contact or whatever it is, just where she can portray that spirit she has and communicate with you.
We did not expect it to be that bad of a diagnosis because we had seen our daughter do so many incredible things, just like any other child. So we didn't ever know it was an option that she could lose all the skills she had gained. We just thought maybe she just needs therapy to get back on track or to speak more or whatever it was. And right before her diagnosis, we actually had moved from Southern to Northern California, and we had her baby sister, and she was only 17 months old with all of that happening. So a few months later, here we are noticing some changes. And as a mom, I just thought she just has been through a lot of change. So she might just be kind of tenderhearted, and we need to figure out what she needs to get back on track. Well, we were shocked that there was such a thing as Rett syndrome. We didn't know existed. And when the doctor sat us down and told us he was inspired, we think he was inspired because doctors don't really know what that is for the most part. And they've usually never seen it. And this doctor had never seen it, but by some miracle, he had had a colleague just diagnose it. So he was aware of what it was. And he came into the room and said, "I think you guys should sit down." And he said, I think there's a good chance your daughter has something called Rett syndrome. And I said, "What is that? What does that mean?" And he said, it means, and honestly, I probably blurred out some of what he said because I probably was in shock for a second. Mm-hmm. But he said, the thing I do remember, he said, is she'll never be independent. And I I immediately started kind of tearing up, like, oh, that's not what I expected. That was a lot worse than I expected. And Ryan's just like happy demeanor, and he says, that's okay, we love London, we'll live with her forever. And what a sweet experience that was my husband's reaction, because that's actually a huge concern in our world, is how couples do after something like that. And I feel like that really, he just is committed from before any of this. And it just felt like it was so, he's meant to be the dad of this little girl, we're meant to be in this family the way it is, because it couldn't be anything but from God, is our opinion of it.
So now you can help me out here. I don't remember the name of the talk that was given. I think it's called Bread or Stones. But I think about that, and in essence, the synopsis of it, or the point of it, is basically saying God doesn't, even though something to us might seem like a stone, something hard, he's giving us bread.
Like he's not going to get what your point is, he's not going to give you something you can't use or is worthless to you. So if he's going to give you like a rock, it's worthless. But what this talk is saying is he gives us bread, like something we can use.
Yeah.
So when it's given by him, when it's not our own sins, is my feelings on this, is it's got to be bread. It's not going to be a stone that we can't use. It's going to be something that's going to affect our lives for the better if we let it.
And can benefit us. Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think, for me overall, and Nat, you can add to this, what I've learned from all of this, because there are daily hardships and daily struggles with everything. And you've mentioned some of them, throwing up, falling and not being able to protect herself, and breaking glasses, and getting black eyes, and just screaming, right? Just because she can't communicate and she's frustrated. There's a lot that we go through. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we somehow have been blessed to be happy through all of it. Maybe not always in the moment, but we have mm-hmm. this eternal perspective, and realizing God has given us such a blessing. And we have it so good. Just the spirit that she brings into our home is amazing every single day. I mean, I wish I could figure out some type of words to explain my thoughts and feelings on it, but God's given us a blessing through London. I think that's the best way to say it overall.
Yeah, actually, so this is like veering off a tiny bit, but I just keep feeling like I need to share this story. If that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Our oldest daughter, Aaliyah, just kind of in the past few months, she's been having different struggles in her life that are just 9-year-old things. And she's great, but things that we're working through and talking about. And so one of the things was getting along with some people at school. And so she had a series of really, really hard days in a row. And I had London finally fall asleep on me in my bed. And so I'm holding her, and Aaliyah is in there talking with me, and she's sharing with me all the hardship, and I'm crying with her, because obviously, like, her suffering is hard to hear as any mom. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. What can we do about it? And as we're talking through all this stuff, I'm not going to fix it for her. I know that these are challenges she needs to go through, because they're things she can get through. But I'm there for her, and we're crying together about it, and I'm telling her how sorry I am. And then Aaliyah gets up to go get ready for bed, and she looks at me and she says, Mom, I've been really selfish. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, I have a sister who has no friends. And she said, how can I complain when I have a sister who would love to have a friend? So she said, I need to be more focused on how I can spend time with her, how I can be a better sister, how I can find someone else who may need a friend at school. Why am I so concerned with what my friends are doing or how I'm treated when I have this here at home? And that's something, as a mom, that I will tell you, like, I'm sure you can relate, Marianne. I couldn't pay someone enough to have my daughter learn that lesson. And that's not what I expected she'd gain from that. But for her to be 9 years old and be saying those things to me, I felt like I would give everything for that, for my other kids possibly to learn some of these lessons that only is brought by this example in our home, in that spirit. So anyway.
Maybe you can give like a final thought on, like, there's others out there that are struggling. If it's not with, a child with a disability, there's, so many other things that are just so hard right now. The world feels really heavy. right now. And so maybe what is like one thing that you would share with people who are struggling, especially with maybe a child, or something big, where like how can they find that happiness when so many hard things are happening around them?
Yeah, I guess the most important thing that comes to my mind is, if you don't already have a relationship with your Savior Jesus Christ, whether or not you know He's there, He is. So my saving grace every day is that I have a Savior who loves me, and I may not understand that kind of love, but it's there. So that's everything. But the other thing is that helps me is that eternal perspective, that this life is like a small piece of a big, big puzzle and a beautiful plan. And so it helps me so much every day to remember that this is what we wanted so bad, that we were so excited to come down and to be mentally challenged or taxed every day, or to be physically, emotionally, spiritually, to go through crisis after crisis in our lives. And it can be so taxing and so exhausting every day. But to remember that this is the mortal experience that we really wanted, that we were excited to come down and to feel what it would be like to live, on earth. To have that knowledge and remember that as often as possible for me, is key, because it keeps me, grounded, that this was what I wanted. This is so sweet that we get to do this.
I think too, again, it's hard to remember this, but God wants us to be successful. He wants us to return to live with Him again one day. One of the things I enjoy doing is working out. And I think about with muscles, the way that you make them stronger is by breaking them down. And it's the same thing for us spiritually as well. These hardships that seem like they're breaking us down, which they actually might be breaking us down, when we come out on the other end of it, we will just be stronger at the end of it. Not that we're going to relish in the opportunity to go through hard times all the time, but in the middle of those hard times, realize, wow, like what an amazing opportunity we have to be able to understand other people who are going through these things, to be able to, just have more understanding, just to raise that level of what you can get through, because you've been through other hard things. But again, God wants you to be successful. And I think that's the important thing to remember.
Well, thank you both so much for being with me today and for sharing your inspiring story. You have really truly been an inspiration to me over these several years that we've been such good friends, and I really appreciate you being willing to share all of that and your testimony of Christ with us today. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.